Hey, everybody. Happy Friday and welcome to Love and Reload, the voice of the relocation industry. I'm your host, Ben Cross, and I am blessed and honored to be here today with our illustrious guest. It's not often we get a big wig from Worldwide ERC stopping by the show. Rebecca Peters, the Vice President of Member Engagement and Public Policy at Worldwide ERC, will be here today with us to talk about member engagement and public policy. Sorry, newsflash there. That's what we're talking about today. But very excited about that. But before we get in with Rebecca Peters and hear all the wonderful things that Worldwide ERC has on the agenda for us this year, and it's been a crazy year, so I'm going to ask her a little bit about what that's like. I know she's new in the role, and so I'm sure it's a big, hairy experience, and I can't wait to hear all about that. But before we get into that, let's talk about our July book club book of the month. The book is called Fear is My Homeboy, How to Slay Doubt, Boss Up, and Succeed on Your Own Terms. If you want to holler at Judy Holler, the author, you can hit her up at hello@judyholler.com to order the book. You can also find the book on Amazon, although not on Audible, so you will have to read it the old-fashioned way. We are going to be doing a book club on Monday, and we finally got that firmed up. So we got some wonderful guests coming on, including Francine Drusty, Victoria McCullough, and Laura Gazian, as well as maybe Janet Turner. If I could talk her into it, we will see. She's going to be on Grammy duty in Colorado, so we'll see if we can tear her away from that. And we will have the author, Judy Holler, on with us on Tuesday, the 28th. So it's going to be very exciting. And without further ado, I'm going to bring out our illustrious guest, Rebecca Peters. How are you doing, Rebecca?
Hi, Ben. I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me. How are you? I
am so excited that you're here. It's really cool when the brass stops by from Worldwide ERC. I admire the organization so much. And all the hard work that goes into it. And I always kind of wonder, what goes on behind the scenes. So I'm always excited to hear from y'all and understand what's on the docket, so to speak. So I'm really excited about having you. Thank you so much for being here.
Well, thank you for the opportunity, Ben. We hear nothing but good things about you.
Well, that is very selective. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for saying that. I do appreciate that.
You're welcome.
And let's see, we got some people joining in, checking in here. We got Ed Ooms checking in. Hello from Amsterdam. Wow. Hello. Nice to see you. If you're with us today, please go ahead, give your company a shout out. Let us know where in the world you are right now. Give Rebecca a shout out. We're also taking questions as well. So if you have any questions on policy or member engagement or Worldwide ERC, feel free to leave them. Fernando from Brazil, it's Friday. Where is the happy hour at? Cheers. The Brazilians are always trying to talk me into a caipirinha. And you know what? There's a time and a place for everything, Fernando. Okay. And today we're talking about public policy. Darn it. All right. Rory Ramirez. Hello, everyone from Mini Moves in Broadview, Illinois. What's up, Rory? Caroline Phillips. Hello from Boston, from Beantown in the house. Awesome. Hosea Botley checking in. Hello, Ben and Rebecca from Seattle. Very cool. Very cool. We got a Connecticut shout out over here. Sandra Clary, happy Friday. All keeping the faith from Alexandria. Now that's in your neck of the woods, isn't it, Rebecca?
It is. I am up in Northwest DC, but yes, it's the DMV out here, Ben.
So you're in Northwest DC. Like, where is that? Like, help me out geographically. I'm a mover. I need to know things like this.
Well, geographically, let's see. If you're down on the Capitol Mall, we are north of that. Okay. Probably adjacent to Chevy Chase in Maryland. So we're about that far north.
Okay.
I don't know if that helps you out. I don't know.
Not at all. Not at all. So one thing I learned about DC is it's kind of like a diamond kind of.
It is. Yeah.
Aggressive. Anyway, and so you're in the Northwest area?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, great. Yeah, hands. We're very high production here. George Meyer, shout out to George from Corporate Living in New York City. Carl Weaver, also from Alexandria, International Association of Movers.
Oh, great. We just partnered with them on something, so that's great, on a letter. So
yeah, we should talk about that. Here, I'm gonna get a little more comfortable. It's Friday. I'm gonna get a little comfortable here. So tell me about the letter. Let's just dive into that because I was hearing a lot about that. And tell me about that letter that y'all partnered on, because I think people know that ERC does advocacy, but we don't
Right.
always know what that means, right? So kind of this is a perfect example, I think.
It's a perfect example, Ben. And I think, listen, there's much bigger stuff, I mean, going on here. And I'll explain, in Washington, we're in the middle right now of looking to the next round of the coronavirus economic stimulus package negotiations, which will be starting in earnest next week. But we were able to partner with IAM and AMSA on a letter asking for the next package to include the moving expense deduction and exclusion, which is something, as you know, ERC has been advocating for a long time. But we also threw out a number of other asks that are related to the needs of our members, economically speaking. So, about 80% of our membership is small business. So we're asking for continued Paycheck Protection Program coverage for those folks with loans. We're asking for the extension of, the individual paycheck protection coverage that's ending end of this month. And so we're doing all of that. On top of that, we're joining a sign-on letter just today with the U.S. Chamber in really making the push to ensure that employers are getting really some protection around liability right now in the COVID timeframe. So if you're an employer and you are complying with the law, not the high level guidelines that the World Health Organization or CDC are putting out, those are important to use as guidelines. But if you are following the law, the idea is that you would be protected, and really the only folks that wouldn't be protected would be those that are intentionally not complying with the law, or those that are in gross negligence of not complying with the law. And we're hoping that'll be included in the package, since that is a top priority of Senate Majority Leader McConnell.
Wow, a lot to unpack there. I mean, I
Yeah.
think the first piece on the moving expense tax deduction is huge. I think really that is probably one of the most existential issues that we face as an industry, as a managed relocation industry, not just household goods. I think people see moving and they think household goods and movers and all that's just a piece of it. Well, the truth of the matter is, if moving is one of the largest expenses within a relocation package or a relocation budget for a company, and the tax deduction is taken away from it, essentially the whole value proposition of managed relocation becomes under scrutiny. And then you see this massive shift towards lump sum moving. And I mean, we are in the business of managing relocations. And I think that it's a huge issue, and I applaud Worldwide ERC for being out front on this. I applaud you guys for closing ranks with the other associations that touch this matter, on this specific issue, because it is so important to me and so many of our viewers. Do you have any ideas on what more maybe we could be doing as an association to really get behind this and kind of provide you the grassroots support maybe that might help, turn the tide of public opinion on this?
So one of the things we're asking our members to do at Worldwide ERC is, up on our COVID webpage, we have a section called Have a Voice, and we've posted a separate letter. We've posted Worldwide ERC's letter that we sent up to the congressional leaders on July 10th, asking for everything I just mentioned to you, plus the moving expense deduction and exclusion. And we're asking folks to share that with their U.S. senators and their House of Representatives right now. So I can send you that link after the show, Ben, and you can share it out with your audience. But I think that's probably the best way to get folks involved right now. The negotiations, like I said, are starting in earnest next week. We expect to see the Republicans unveiling their package on Monday. The Democrats are already have their package out there that they passed a couple months ago, the HEROES Act. And once both those packages are out there, the negotiations will start. And we're really hoping that we can see some resolution on some of these issues by the first week, hopefully no later than the second week of August, because they're supposed to go on recess August 7th. The one thing, though, I think that is going to be the most difficult to get in this package is the moving expense deduction and exclusion, because they are really trying to keep this very narrowly focused on the the basic economic needs that the country has right now. And there's a lot.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's a lot, right? There's a lot. And how do you get to the front of the line, right?
Right.
And I think I heard or I read Mitch McConnell's response had something to do with they're focusing on things that have a material impact, and what does that mean? So that's kind of a material is like a word. I don't really know what that means, right? So what does that mean actually in political speak? What does that mean when they're focusing on things that have a material impact? Does that mean like cash in pockets of consumers? Is that kind of what they're talking about, or what?
It's hard to say until we see the bill language on Monday, Ben. But I will say I do think you're onto something there. I do think it ties to what we call pocketbook issues. They always, I keep saying that this election, one of the biggest issues outside of the pandemic is going to be some of these pocketbook issues because people are just hurting right now. We actually, trying to find our stats, we actually had a worldwide ERC webinar that we hosted yesterday afternoon with our government affairs shop. And we'll have that recording up online later tonight, so folks can watch it. It's everything we're doing on government relations at Worldwide ERC. But we actually polled the folks that tuned into that webinar, and I want to say, trying to find it now, 25% of them were saying, 25% of the respondents said their business were down, and I want to say 70% of respondents said they had layoffs or furloughs. So people are really hurting right now.
Yeah, companies are hurting, individuals are hurting, and
yes.
I can understand why they're looking at stimulus actions that put money in people's pocketbooks, and to stimulate the economy. Us in the relocation biz would love to see a little relo policy love, but hey, what are you going to do? Victoria McCullough says, Rebecca, saw you yesterday on ERC forum, lots of information. So the people are watching. Francine Drusty, hello, Ben, Rebecca, and Janet checking in from St. Louis. Jamie Massler, hi, Ben and Rebecca. Cheers from beautiful and sunny Mississippi. I can always tell when Jamie's cut the grass that day because they'll tell me how hot it is. If he hasn't been outside, it's just beautiful and sunny,
Well, Ben, we just rescued a little dog from Mississippi. So
really?
He's a new, he's from Mississippi.
Jamie just lost a dog in Mississippi.
Uh-oh. I hope it's not the same. Hope it's not the same dog. No, I know you're joking.
No, but tell me about the rescue, though. Tell me about the rescue.
Yeah. So we just rescued a little guy. He's a Beagle mix, 2.5 years old. And he is the sweetest thing, but we got him from Wolf Trap Animal Rescue, and they do a lot of work down in Mississippi. So happy to take in a little animal right now because they need help too.
Is that Beagle? Is it with you there somewhere?
It is. He's under. Can I grab him?
Yeah, please. Let's get a little cameo.
See. I'm sorry.
I love free talent cameos. Normally I have to pay for cameos, so this is great.
We don't know what he's mixed with, but my guess is he's mixed with a Chihuahua. So here he is. Oh
my gosh, look at him.
There's little
I love the color.
Wrigsley. Yeah,
Wrigsley?
Wrigsley is his name, and we are very happy to take him in. Say hi, Wrigsley. Say hi to everyone. Hi.
I'm talking to him like he's got headphones on, like he has any idea what's going on right now.
Yeah, so we're happy to have him.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's fantastic. I love it. See, look, the advocacy, it comes home with you, doesn't it?
It comes home with you. It does.
It's who you are, right? So that's cool.
It is, Ben.
Speaking of who you are, so I want to talk about that, right? So now you got a dog. You're like, how do I manage this situation, right?
No, it's okay.
Thrill of live TV. No, but so you're new to the association.
Yes.
Okay. Tell us a little bit about. Just give us your background. You're new to the association, but you're not really necessarily new to global mobility. So give us an introduction.
So I've actually been working in DC ever since I graduated from law school and grad school. So 20 years in DC. In DC, and really the last 20 years up until the past 7 weeks, solely really in jobs related to immigration. So I started at the Department of Justice in the Presidential Management Fellowship, which is a 2-year program, and it allowed me to rotate through headquarters at Legacy INS and get some time in the field, in the courts and things like that, which was really cool. Good experience. And then I was picked up by a law firm and did some employment-based law for a couple years, and then realized how messed up our immigration system is and decided to come out and start advocating on it. And I've been an advocate for the past, 13, 14 years. Wound up at ERC. I was formerly with SHRM, great organization, and had one of our executives who recently left SHRM for the opportunity to lead worldwide ERC give me a call, Lynn Shotwell, and say, hey, how would you feel about coming over and heading up our government affairs shop? And I couldn't say no, because Lynn and I have worked together a lot over the last 13 years, and she's just a fantastic leader. So that's the story, Ben. That's the
awesome.
story.
That's fantastic. And shout out to Lynn Shotwell. I hope you're watching, Lynn. One of my life goals, is to get Lynn on the program.
Well, I'll help you. I'll help you, Ben.
Please, I need some advocacy. So please let me know. I can't afford any campaign contributions, but I do need some advocacy.
You're asking the right person. That is something I can do for you.
I love it. And then some folks are checking in. Jamie says he has 3 rescue cats.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And 1 escaped dog. Francine Jesse says he's so adorable.
Thank you.
Carl says cute dog. That reminds me of Petey from the Our Gang movies.
So true.
Look at that. Pierre Geronimo, greetings to all. Checking in here. Brian Limperopoulos from IAM checking in.
Yes.
Thankful for Rebecca's partnership on government affairs issues. Sandra Clara, yes, the DMV is one metro, though. One time my credit card company shut off my card saying the security had flagged it because purchases were being made in 3 states.
Oh.
I'd paid for lunch in D.C., passed through Maryland, and was trying to get my gas in my car in Virginia in less than an hour, and they shut the card. Maps matter, folks. Look at Sandra. Always explaining my idiosyncrasies. I appreciate you, Sandra, so much for making me seem so normal up here. We do have a question, actually, here. So kind of a tough question here. Mena from Dubai. Mena is a frequent listener. I can see that Worldwide ERC's role is not involved in the Middle East and Africa region. What is your comment about that? What do you think?
Well, so, just so folks, I think, are aware, Worldwide ERC, most of our members are located in and very active in North America and Western Europe. And we do have some folks in Asia Pacific. I know we do have some individuals in Middle East, Africa. But I will say that one of the great things, and this is piggybacking off what Ben and I just talked about having a CEO and a president in Lynn Shotwell, is she is a global mobility expert, and she has been doing global mobility and very active globally for the last 30 years. And in fact, I think one of the first discussions I had to get involved in, and I've been involved in 2 or 3 since, was with the International Organization of Employers at the Global Forum for Migration and Development. So we've been participating in those dialogues, really trying to elevate employers' needs globally at a very high level, which is what you do internationally, as we work towards the Abu Dhabi UAE dialogue that'll happen in early January. So we've been talking about really partnerships and how partnerships around the world can resolve and lead to solutions. And I do think at Worldwide ERC, we do have a desire at some point to get much more active globally. But those are things I think that are hopefully in our future. But yeah, I don't know if that answered your question, Mina. It's a long answer, but yes.
I mean, I'll chime in as well, right? So here's my experience with Worldwide ERC. I've been a member for 9 years, I think. The association's been phenomenal to me, okay? It's really been a huge catalyst for my career. It's helped me build community, mentorship relationships, job opportunities, I mean, the whole 9, client opportunities. And it really, though, was a product of the amount of effort and participation and engagement that I had with the association. You know, you kind of, you get out what you put in, right? And I think that I would challenge anybody, and Mena, I know you well enough to say this, but I would challenge anybody who is saying, you know, what is the association doing for me, to say, well, what are you doing for the association? You know, the association doesn't go to Africa and say, hey, we're in Africa, you know, hello members. The association says, hey, we have members in Africa, let's be in Africa. And so I think we have to realize also that the association serves their members, so and it's really a reflection of their members. So go ahead.
No, Ben, I was just going to say, and Mena, I think this is a perfect opportunity. Our CEO, Lynn Shotwell, will be announcing soon her listening tour. And I think it would be fantastic for you to participate in that, because we really, part of what we need to do, myself, I'm new to Worldwide ERC just 7 weeks ago, and Lynn, coming in as CEO and president, is only 45 days ahead of me. So we're both coming in very new to the organization in the last number of months, and in the middle of a pandemic on top of that. And we do want to prioritize what our members are needing from us. And so if you are a Worldwide ERC member, Mena, I would definitely encourage you to be on the lookout for the listening tour, and we can share that with you once it's announced.
Yeah, great advice. Mena says she's ready to be the first one from the Africa region.
Yay, fantastic.
Nice. Way to step up, Mena. Georgia Angle, happy Friday. Associations are always looking for volunteers to contribute.
We are.
Exactly, Georgia. So speaking about priorities and things, right? What are some of the big items you're watching around the world at this time right now? You know, as far as we see parts of the world reopening, we see a lot of stuff going on in flux right now. What are you watching and looking at?
Well, this will be a little bit of a repeat what I shared with my members yesterday, but just to keep this very high level, Ben, because I know we only have an hour, you know, just a handful of things that we're watching that are happening very recently. I think that impact mobility. One of the things is we just had last week, Europe's top court struck down the EU-US Privacy Shield, which is an agreement that companies use to safely move data between the EU and the US. So the impact on mobility is that I think around 5,000 businesses rely on that framework to ensure protection for data coming to the US from Europe, which is crucial for the protection of employees being moved to the US from the EU and vice versa. So that's one thing we're watching. Another development that I know probably you're very familiar with, Ben, is, and our listeners, happened in June with China enacting a sweeping security law over Hong Kong, right? And so one of the things we're watching is really the UK and Australia's response to that from an immigration standpoint, giving their residents immigration options to, you know, go and move to the UK or go back to Australia. We're also, as you mentioned, with borders reopening and closing, we're definitely watching the announcement of the EU borders list of countries, which I understand they're changing every couple of weeks. But this is something that's really important, especially to Worldwide ERC members. And as many people know, the US has been left off that list because we have seen a spike in COVID cases, right? Couple other things, Brexit is still very big, and the point system that's coming from the UK in January, which, you know, if employers want to get ready for that, they're going to have to start preparing, and probably the earliest they're going to be able to is this fall. We went over a lot of that in detail yesterday in the webinar that I can send to you for your members to listen to, your listeners, Ben, because we had Jurgen McCluskey from Deloitte, who's in the UK, based in the UK, on the webinar yesterday, explaining a lot of those items in detail. And then the last thing I would just say is I think, you know, folks need to be aware of the USMCA, the US, Canada, Mexico agreement replacing NAFTA as of July 1st. I think we can expect, you know, maybe a higher percentage of parts manufactured in North America for automobiles to avoid tariffs, increased property right protections, and maybe further opening on certain farm goods. And we could also see employers kind of shifting where they're located, right? Because it's a new trade deal. So those are some of the big things we're watching now. I know I'm not listing the entire laundry list, but those are a couple biggies.
Well, so a lot there, right?
Yeah,
a lot there.
yeah,
and a lot of these policy changes from a U.S. perspective, from this current administration, are designed to create jobs here, right? Like you said, the higher percentage of parts being manufactured in the U.S. to avoid tariffs, and he's we're trying to pull these macroeconomic strings in order to create jobs, pocketbook issues, as we said before, here in the U.S. However, a lot of our guests and listeners out there would argue that it's doing quite the opposite, right? That it's actually driving businesses away, and it's actually offshoring a lot of high-end jobs. So maybe we're creating more manufacturing jobs, but we're pushing away a lot of high-skill jobs, right? Because of immigration issues and things like that.
Our immigration policies are not helping there.
Yeah. How can we? What do we do about that? Big question, right?
Election, right? There's an election in November, Ben.
There you go.
Right. No, listen, I mean, we're not partisan. We are very bipartisan. We are nonpartisan at Worldwide ERC. But I do think you bring up great points about the impact on the mobility profession and just what we're seeing the United States doing with a number of its policies that are really protectionist, right, in a sense, specifically in immigration. And one of the big things I think that is concerning for the mobility industry were the recent work visa bans that the president put out in 2 different proclamations that are really going to affect certain incoming immigrants and non-immigrants from around the world through the end of the year. Coupled with the fact that, we have seen the agency that processes immigration applications stateside, those would be the people that wouldn't be hopefully affected by these work visa bans overseas, needing funding. And if they don't get this funding, that they're going to furlough 70% of their workforce by August 3rd. Now, fortunately, we had some breaking news today, right, Ben?
Yeah.
That hopefully we have some good news on that. Yeah.
So we're breaking news here, and just to tee this up, let's tee this up because I think this is really important. So over the last couple of weeks, if you've been watching Love and Reload, you've seen Samir from Banyan Immigration, you've seen shout out to Salman, Justin Parsons, Zara Najum from Ericsson come on. You've seen all these immigration thought leaders come on and talk about this very issue that people, and if I'm wrong or if I'm missing some nuance, please correct me in the comments or yourself, Rebecca, but people cannot get visas renewed at consulates because they're closed due to COVID. And they are also concerned that the administration is going to defund the USCIS, which had been a self-sustaining, and again, if I'm glossing over or missing any nuances here, a self-sustaining agency, in that their revenues from their processing revenues funded them. And so they're kind of just going to be allowed to fall apart almost. And what happens when that capability evaporates, and how do we get it back? And is this part of a calculated non-effort to sustain this? And these are my words, not the association's words. I can do that. But is this a calculated effort on behalf of the administration? And in effect would create a enormous blockage of new visas and citizen immigration services. So what is happening right now as we speak, just hours ago?
Yeah, Ben. So we actually just got breaking news a couple hours ago that Senator Leahy said in a statement that U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services has agreed to postpone its furlough of more than about 13,000 of its federal employees. Keep in mind, that's about 70% of its workforce through August 31st. Now, the reason they're doing that is that then gives Congress time in this next stimulus package, which we hope will be completed by mid-August, to fund the agency. And really, it's not funding. What they're going to have to do is put up a trust fund, really, if you think about it, that the agency would pay back over a certain number of years. As you pointed out, it is a fee-funded agency for the most part, except for E-Verify. The E-Verify program is always appropriated for, and the funds are covered through the congressional process. But everything else, as you pointed out at USCIS, comes through the fees that they get from whether it's employers or a family member doing a family immigration of a mother, a brother, a father, a sister. They come through fees. So this is a huge thing, and it's a good thing that this news is breaking today, because otherwise, if the agency would have furloughed half of it or 70% of its employees, we would have seen immigration processing stateside of, H-1B extensions or L-1 extensions or work authorization documents come to a standstill. So it's good news that this hopefully is going to happen and that there's going to be resolution of this so we don't see that happen, because as you point out, overseas, we have these work visa bans that are not allowing certain new visas for individuals coming over in green card status or in non-immigrant visas like H-1B-L, H-2B, and certain J-1 visas.
So interesting. So due to what's happening overseas, there's no new visas being offered. And if this action had not been taken with USCIS, 70% of the workers and therefore maybe capacity of this agency to process immigration, to process visas, I guess continuations of visas or
extensions of visas stateside. People, do things called change of status. So you might have a student coming out of a university in the pipeline on an F-1 visa that wants to change to an H-1 visa. Those would be handled stateside, as well as work permits. So you have people, even on DACA right now, right, with the U.S. Supreme Court decision saying, we can continue to provide DACA benefits now until the president decides to really revoke the program through the appropriate processes administratively. That's what they didn't do proper before. But it's things like that would have come to a halt.
Wow. So this is breaking news. Again, Senator Leahy says in a statement, USCIS has agreed to postpone the furlough of 13,000 employees, roughly 70% of the staff, as Rebecca had mentioned. Did they talk about how long they were postponing that furlough for?
Well, they're postponing it from August 3rd to August 31st. And the hope is that in between that time frame, Congress will come up with the $1.2 billion or something of that to give them a trust fund so that they can keep those folks on board.
Side note, so we got 1.2 over here for
and
for
that might not be
USCIS.
the final amount.
We got we got some PPP money going out. We got some pocketbook issues over here. Where's all this coming from? Okay, because I always know that after this is a lot of like head scratching and just kind of remorse. So what happens to all that? Where does that money come from?
Well, Congress appropriates it. And let me just say,
Congress is like my rich uncle whom I've never met before. And I'm just waiting to die and give me the rest of it.
Part of the reason, actually, the Republican negotiation, the Republicans in negotiating their bill to negotiate with the Democrats on their bill, part of the reason the Republican process was slowed down to release their bill early next week, as opposed to it having been released yesterday, which it was supposed to be, is right on this issue, Ben. There are a number of Republicans that think we are spending too much money in this process. But those are decisions I will allow our members of Congress to make, and I will allow them to explain. A lot of the money comes from, taxpayers, to be quite honest, right? So it all comes back to, us paying the bill.
Well, I'm going to share my personal stance on this and perspective on this, right? Because I get to do that. I applaud how fast the administration turned around PPP, stimulus. I mean, people were hurting,
Congress,
people were in
yes.
dire
Mhm.
situations, and Congress, the government worked together very quickly to mobilize funds to people. What I'm seeing as a moving company is I'm seeing that some of my workers who were making less than $48,000 a year are now incentivized to stay home
Right. Yeah.
because now they're making $48,000 a year,
Right.
which is more than they were making
Sorry.
before to move out. No, take your time. Take your time.
The dog is
I can go
barking.
for a while
Sorry.
on this.
Okay.
So now we've created a situation where people are incentivized to not work. Well, that actually has a deleterious impact on the economy because I need people out there moving couches in order to
Right.
charge people to move couches in order to build money and keep the dollar circulating. Okay, that's economics. Okay, so now I have people that don't want to work. Okay, and then on the other side of it, as a highly compensated executive, I open up my mail and I got a stimulus check, which, hey, cool, sweet. Let's go get some patio furniture, right? But the truth of the matter is I don't need that money, right? And so it makes me wonder, like, we're just giving money out like it's Christmas. And I'm just wondering about some of the sense and like who we're giving it to. And there's going to be some people that need more than PPP. There's going to be some people that need more than the stimulus they received. And then there's some people that,
Yeah, there are some people that are going to be evicted, come the end of the month because they don't have the money, and $600 isn't even going to cut it. So, yeah, I mean, these are huge issues, Ben, and I think Congress has been trying to think through it proportionally, as you're talking about. Higher income earners getting less than obviously those that are on the lower spectrum of earning. But it's definitely hard times, and Congress has a lot to do in the next couple of weeks just to keep people's lights on.
Yeah, I love it. And I appreciate you indulging some of my questions.
It's okay.
Kind of off script here, but no, this is great. I want to go to something else I'm very passionate about. I'm even more passionate about. Okay.
Yes.
That is the issue of duty of care. Okay.
Oh, okay.
So we go to worldwide ERC, conferences, and we hear from all these really smart people and all these very compassionate HR professionals, right? And they talk about duty of care, right? And they talk about, we have a duty of care to provide a safe employee experience for people as they are working on behalf of the company and relocation activities or on assignment or whatever. And then I put on my mover hat and I see all these lump sums being issued. I see all these people loading rental trucks. You ever driven a rental truck over the Rocky Mountains? 26-foot rental truck over the Rockies?
I have not, but I will tell you.
Harrowing experience.
My husband has driven one, and he actually got in an accident with it. When he was moving back to New York. And yeah, they're hard things to drive.
Yeah,
those moving trucks.
I see people can't drive a Toyota Camry and they're hopping in a 26-foot rental truck.
They're hard things to drive.
It's like, what's going on here? And then you throw that Toyota Camry on a trailer on the back and it starts fishtailing and you get trailer swaying, the thing starts rocking in this wind and then you're going downhill and you're braking and you're downshifting. I can't even drive a stick. My point is, where's the duty of care on domestic relocations? Is duty of care even a thing? Where does the association stand on that? Give us some guidance. What is the official thought on, is duty of care even a thing in domestic relocation?
Well, it's a thing, but let me just say, Ben, this is actually a very timely issue for us because we actually on July 9th at Worldwide ERC just released our workforce mobility safety framework as a part of a much broader global initiative called Safely Back to Work that's being led by three of the world's largest HR employers, Adecco, the Manpower Group, and Randstad. And it was our CEO, Lynn Shotwell, that got us really involved in this. She was approached by individuals that she had worked with over the years with the International Organization on Migration under the World Employment Confederation, which actually represents those companies I just mentioned Randstad and Adecco and Manpower and other staffing agencies. So they developed these overarching guidelines, and then we promised that we were going to really put forward resources for the global mobility profession on safely moving workers. And so, yes, I mean, duty of care is a part of that. And when you look at the framework that we have online, and again, I'm happy to send this to your listeners and share the link, but we're really looking at all of the key components of the mobility process. So duty of care, workforce planning, immigration, tax planning, well, tax implications, like you said, moving and transportation and travel. And really, I think it's one of those high level guidelines where if you're a mobility professional and you're in this pandemic with all this uncertainty, it's a place to look to kind of get your bearings, right? And then it's also a place to look to say, hey, I need some top industry resources. And so we've broken it out in those ways that I've mentioned. And if you look at our duty of care, we break out top government and private sector resources. So you can find all of that in one place. We've really collated all of that information. And duty of care is really important, and it exists globally and domestically. It's something that people need to be mindful of, responsible of.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate the association coming out on this and taking a stance and getting these firms like Randstad, Adecco, and Manpower together and coming out with this guidance, right? I think that we need to take this, just my opinion on this, right? Because that's what I do. But I think that we need to take this guidance and we need to arm our members in a very, we need to engage them on this. You know what I mean? Because it's one thing to write, like, listen, I write a lot of memos. Of memos, right? But we need to get out there and really deliver this message and let people know that their opinion.
We've really tried to do it. I mean, it's a PDF, but we've tried to make it very visual. So it's not like just a dissertation or a memo or a document. But really what it comes down to when you talk about duty of care is it's really the responsibility of every employer and organization to understand how to comply with the necessary duty of care, whether it is a local duty of care, a state duty of care, country duty of care, or the industry that they're working within. All those duty of cares exist, and it is the employer's responsibility to figure it out, to keep their workplace and their employees safe.
To our knowledge, and I've been searching for this, and I don't expect necessarily you to know, but I've been looking for this. Do you know of any legal precedents that says a corporation is legally responsible or liable if an employee is injured during a relocation?
Yeah, I don't know that. I'm certain it could be.
I don't know that either.
I don't know that, and it could definitely be. I don't know if like OSHA. I don't know if OSHA would cover that because it's a relocation, but it's technically still, if it's relocation, maybe considered the workplace. So it could fall definitely Department of Labor somewhere.
But
I don't know that off the top of my head, Ben.
Yeah, and. Yeah, I mean, I don't either, but I'm kind of like searching for that precedence because
I'm actually
there's a lot of chief legal officer or chief risk officers that would be very interested to hear.
Well, I'm visiting with an old friend at SHRM who is an employment attorney this weekend, so maybe I'll ask the question. Please
do, and if you need to call me, you want to just FaceTime me or something, hit me up.
Just send me the question. Send me the question in a bullet on email, and I'll hopefully maybe get it answered for you.
Yes, I love it. We got people chiming in over here with some great comments. It looks like this is Catherine Palmer. Catherine,
I drove a moving van.
I drove a moving van and drove 120 miles in torrential rain, and it was terrifying. And I would not recommend that companies encourage assignees to manage their own relocation. It is stressful enough contemplating a relocation, and companies need to support well-being foremost of their staff. Duty of care is used as a marketing tool often, but little evidence of this being put into practice, unfortunately. And how many companies tout their talent brand and their employee experience and their robust benefits package, and then turn around and hand somebody 10 grand and say, see you Monday, with no concern for the tax implications of that, and the fact that it's actually $6,500, and with no understanding or responsibility toward the fact that you can't actually get a professional move or adequate assistance at that price point. I mean, it's egregious, and it would never happen in any other aspect of human resources, benefits, or total rewards at these companies. And I find that disconnect to just be very egregious. Soapbox over.
It's okay. I'm learning, Ben. I'm learning. 7 weeks in the job, I'm learning from you.
And obviously, this isn't directed towards you. This is just my own angst over the years built up, And frankly, it's damn near 5 o'clock Friday. Okay, so I'm just getting a little antsy over here. All right. Oh my gosh. Let's see here. We've got some other. We got a question that I really like this question. And if you follow the show at all, you know that the diversity, equity, and inclusion is a really big part of who I am and what our show is about. Yeah. And we've done some really cool things. We've had some really great guests. We've read some really good books. I think we've educated ourselves quite a bit about everything from diversity, equity, inclusion to white privilege to how to be an ally to women in the workplace. And Hosea Botley, a good friend of mine and guest of the show, says, "Hello, Rebecca. What is ERC's position on diversity and inclusion?"
Right. No, it's such a timely question given everything we've seen happen in the United States with what was happening over Black Lives Matter and the protests. And Worldwide ERC came out at that time. Our chair, Ed Hannibal, and Lynn Shotwell, our CEO and president, came out with a statement very supportive of diversity and inclusion, Black Lives Matter. And we are definitely involved in this discussion. We actually have a volunteer leader at Worldwide ERC that is going to, has already actually, I think, started up a diversity and inclusion task force. And this is something that we're definitely going to be discussing at our GWS conference this fall, which is going to be an all virtual event for about a month. And we're going to be offering about 3 to 4 hours of content every day. So folks can drop in and listen into what they want to listen to, when they want to listen to. We'll be announcing all that and putting out early registration, I think in early August. So, that is definitely going to be a part of the fall discussion. We have a task force that you can become a member of. And, happy to share all that information, but it's very important to us. I mean, if you are an organization and you are not being inclusive, then you are just not on track.
Yeah, and I know it's not possible for anybody to watch all these episodes. It's barely possible for me to watch them. But we've had a few conversations here, and a few learnings have come out of it, and I just wanted to share some of those. Hosea shared his story with Andrew Jackson from Warner Media about being the only 2 Black people in the room, at an ERC years ago, and that's how they first met.
Wow.
Right? Mm-hmm. And as a white person, it's very rare that I have the feeling or it's very rare that I experience being the only white person in a room. And I can't imagine when you go to an association where networking, learning, these are the major objectives, and to feel alone in a crowd of people, and I think we have to do a better job. And again, I'm not pointing fingers. I'm bringing awareness. I think we have to do a better job of facilitating participation from our Black, brown, people of color, membership and constituents. I mean, frankly, we also have to find a way to get companies to send folks to ERC, because I mean, it's a blessing just to even be sent. For have a company to invest thousands of dollars in your development, to send you on the T&E and the registration and everything to go. So I would personally suggest having some sort of a networking event live and in person at ERC, at GWS, and having virtual networking thing that might even be hosted via the community or via LinkedIn or something for people back in the office.
We're discussing all of that. And I think, if we could get some sort of, I'll let our volunteer leader lead it, but if we could get a roundtable going on it, I mean, those are the kind of things that need to happen right now on this issue. It is just too important not to.
Yeah, and and I do appreciate the association sending out that memo kind of early on in the Black Lives Matter movement, letting people know where the association stands. I think that was courageous, and I appreciate that. And I'd like to see this change, really have legs, because I mean, here we are in COVID. We're going to miss the in-person experience. By the time we see each other again, it might be May, it might be October of next year, and I hope that we've actually enacted the learnings, from this moment. So anyway, if I can ever be a resource or anything, let me know.
Yeah, and we should get the YP40 group moving on it too, Ben.
100%, and I'm all about it. So shout out to Chris Ward and the YP40s. We've got some really cool Love and Reloads coming up with YP40s. We've done a couple. We're going to do some more. So keep an eye out for that stuff as well. Jose Abali says, "Thank you, Rebecca. Love to assist in any way I can."
Great, Jose. We can connect you to the right volunteer leader.
There you go. We got some other comments here from Victoria. I think it's from Victoria McCullough. Do you envision more frequent business traveler or short-term moves and then long-term assignments? If yes, do you think companies have robust tracking tools and a way of assessing the tax implications in advance? What a complex question.
Well, I know we've done some benchmarking on these issues, so I can direct this listener to our learning portal at Worldwide ERC. But I mean, listen, it's going to come down to, I think, case-by-case decisions by each company, depending on where your workforce is located, what countries are open and what countries are not open, whether you're relocating people or not, what actual position you're talking about relocating, if it's a priority, if it's an executive, if it's someone that can work remotely, someone that's doing IT. I mean, it comes down to all these different decisions. But I think in general, there has been a trend recently towards more short-term moves. Again, though, I think given this fluid environment, it's really hard to say. One of the things we polled our members on yesterday, Ben, in our government affairs webinar that we hosted that we'll have online later tonight for anyone to watch, not just members. We share that with everyone. Is we asked them when they anticipate their business reopening, almost to the full extent in the new normal, whatever that is, right? And I think we had about 43%, which was the highest number of respondents, say they were anticipating 12 months. So, it was between 6 months to 18 months, but most folks were hoping for 12 months. So there's, all of that factors in. And I'm sorry I'm not giving you a clear answer, but there's a lot, as Ben said, to unpack in this question and consider. And I would direct you towards our resources online at Worldwide ERC and our benchmarking, and I'm happy to share that information.
Yeah, please do share those links. I'll put them on our Facebook page and our LinkedIn page as well. Links to those things. We've got another very pressing question here from Rob. Not to distract from the serious topic being discussed, can there be more dogs appearing on the show, Love and Reload, and pets?
Wow.
Ben,
great. I'm adding an element. Element to your show.
We've been needing an element. I didn't know what it was, but we've been needing an element.
Maybe it's cute animals right now.
I think that's what it is. I think I'm just not cutting it, honestly. Oh my gosh, this is great.
I'm not either. It looks like Wrigley's the star.
Wrigley is the star. I love it. That's great. Let's see here. Elena, hey, Rebecca Peters, so glad to see you on ERC side of the fight.
Oh, hi, Elena. Hi. Yes, Elena used to be one of our members at Council for Global Immigration in Sherm. So nice to see you.
Yep, Elena is a big friend of the show, and appreciate you.
Fantastic.
Yep,
with Brookings for many years. Great organization.
Let's see here. Sandra Clary says, question. Do we think that companies will get a pass for 2020 for payroll tax regs that would have otherwise kicked in for work from anywhere employees who are located in states and jurisdictions that aren't within their employer's usual business unit locations? Wow.
It's a great question. It's a great question. Again, we just had our tax forum chair, Craig Anderson, write a piece on this that we just posted this week to the website. So I would encourage you to look under our news on Worldwide ERC's website to get some of the latest on this topic. I mean, it is an issue, right? We were just talking about it at Worldwide ERC because we're working remotely and not at the office. And what are the implications for payroll? I think if I'm remembering correctly, there may only be 6 or so states. It's a handful of states that say, hey, if you are now working, remotely in a different state from where your physical workplace was, we're going to call it a wash. There's not going to be a tax implication. But everywhere else, there are tax implications. So this is something you really need to be paying attention to because of the nexus on these issues with working remotely, working from home.
Yeah. Wow. Great questions.
It's a big issue. Big issue.
Tough to answer that. People are, everybody's going to bed. I don't understand. It's Friday. I don't care where you are. It's Friday. Okay. Get over it. All right. Catherine's going to sleep. Henri's, getting tired. I mean, get over it, people. I mean, gee whiz. I do have a question. It's early in the year relatively for this, but let's whip out the crystal ball here. So it's an election year here in the US. Okay. And I know Worldwide ERC is a nonpartisan organization, but what are some of the things we should be watching for in this election that might have a huge impact on global mobility?
Well, Ben, I think it's just such a timely issue and question that you're asking. I really think it breaks down to 3 things that I'm seeing right now. Former Vice President Biden put out some proposals, but I think it really breaks down to, watching what's happening with the economy. Tax is a big one, and immigration is the other big one I would put forward for folks to watch. And I think, when we look at the economy, when we look at what's happening, I think one of the stark differences between former Vice President Biden and President Trump is that Biden says he would be very cautious in reopening business without ramping up testing. And that is, something very different than we've seen over what's happened in the last number of months under the existing administration. Another big issue is tax, right? Because Trump put out the Tax Cut and Jobs Act of 2017, and I think former Vice President Biden has vowed that he will reverse some of those tax cuts. In particular, he's going to raise the corporate tax to 28% from 21%.
That's still down from 30 and change when it was originally. So originally, before 2017, the corporate tax was like 34%, maybe.
You're probably right, but I don't know.
Just pulling numbers out of the air, okay? And then he dropped it down to it's old news anyway, it doesn't matter. Right. And then he dropped it down to 21%, and now Biden's saying he would bring it up to 28%. 28%. But the key is if he rolls back these Tax Cuts and Jobs Acts, elimination of deductions that are a part of that, and we know the moving tax deduction is in there, or moving.
And we don't know if he's going to do that yet. That's something, we need to definitely be on the lookout for. You're absolutely right, Ben. I mean, the other thing with the tax is, a lot of mobility professionals are high skilled and they're on the high end. And, he would increase the highest income earners to 39.6% from 37%. So a little bit of a tax increase there if you have a nexus in a state and you're moving around and you're mobile, right? So some stuff there, and then expand tax credits for lower income workers. So as you're saying, like your lower income workers who are earning $48,000, they might actually get a benefit as opposed to the higher income earners. The last big issue is immigration, right? This is going to be, it's interesting. There'll be some big differences with former Vice President Biden's immigration plan, but there's going to be some similarities to President Trump in his plans as well, because even though Biden would not specifically lit immigration during COVID, and he would look to attract the best and brightest like President Trump has said he did, he would not limit legal immigration. So he would actually want to increase those numbers. But at the same time, he's going to be very similar to what the Trump administration is doing in putting U.S. workers first and protecting U.S. worker rights and wages and working conditions and ensuring employers who are not playing by the rules are held accountable. So there's going to be a number of similarities, but also some differences. And we'll see if he chooses to try and run comprehensive immigration reform. But my thought is one of the first issues they're going to run again is healthcare.
Do you see immigration and visas increasing if Biden is elected?
Well, again, that's what I was just mentioning there in my last point. What happened in 2010 or 2008, after the 2008 elections with President Obama, when the Democrats controlled both houses of Congress and the White House, is they had a choice. They had a choice to either run a healthcare bill or a choice to run an immigration bill, and they chose healthcare. I think we're in a similar situation again. If the Democrats sweep and win the White House and the Senate and hold on to the House, we're in that same situation again. And I actually think they choose healthcare again over immigration. But is it an ongoing process that they would work on? Sure. Of course they're going to. They believe in comprehensive immigration reform. And so that work would, definitely be something that would be happening. But again, these are hard things to predict because we don't know what's going to happen with the election. We don't know who's going to win the White House, who's going to hold on to Congress. So these things become very difficult to predict.
But some of the things that have constrained immigration have been via executive order, haven't they?
Recently, yes. And,
so
and
you got to think that some of those would probably come back.
Well, some of those would be rolled back probably for instance, DACA is a good one. They would definitely probably undo that. The Democrats would. They would probably also undo, a lot of the refugee and asylum laws. But what they would do with high-skilled immigration, I think, is still questionable. Like I said, why they might increase the numbers, they're also going to be making sure that none of those workers are taking U.S. worker jobs, which is very similar to what the Trump administration is doing.
Interesting. This has been really, this is some highbrow stuff, honestly, for Love and Relo. I mean, things aside, this is some highbrow stuff. You've given me a lot to think about, Rebecca.
And you're going to add cute animals onto your show.
We're going to try to incorporate cute animals.
Yeah. No pressure, Ben.
Yeah, no pressure. I thought it was like hard booking one human a day. It's really going to be hard.
You got to book animals.
Yeah. But Rebecca, before we adjourn,
yes.
Do you have a final thought maybe for our listeners, our audience today? What is something you'd like to leave folks with?
Well, I think what I'd like to leave folks with is, as dark and difficult of times that we're in right now, I think from what I've heard in the last 7 weeks on the job, there is a lot of hope that global mobility is continuing strong and that it's going to continue strong. There is a lot of hope for the industry and that it's going to keep churning. So I would say don't lose hope. I am here and we are going to be advocating our hearts out for you. So whatever you need, please contact me. I want to make sure that if you're a worldwide ERC member, we are considering your needs, and I know my CEO feels the same way. So
that's awesome.
We appreciate it, Ben.
Well, thank you so much, Rebecca. I look forward to working with you more closely on the YP40 stuff, of which I'm on the committee of. I'd love to help you get the word out for Worldwide ERC and some of the different initiatives, including duty of care, including diversity, equity, and inclusion, including any anti-lump sum platforms you choose to roll out. Thank you so much for being here. Thanks to Rick Lee. This has been wonderful. Thank you to all of our wonderful commenters who left great, thoughtful questions. And go rescue a dog, huh? All right. Have a wonderful weekend,